Imagine winning a $32,000 revenue account from an incumbent agent that had had it for over 22 years and do it without quoting. And let's be clear, the incumbent agent wasn't doing a bad job and the prospect wasn't unhappy. So how did this happen? Well, let me show you. Hi there, I'm Randy Schwantz and welcome to the Big Nation channel, the home of the triple threat solution, sales training, sales CRM, and sales management platform, all in one integrated system. See, if you're a grizzled old veteran with a huge book of business, making a ton of dough, this might not be for you. This is for the producer that's either brand new or early in their career and is struggling to win decent sized middle market accounts with a 60 to 80% win rate, and mostly by BOR. All right, now that we know who you are, a new or newer producer that wants to win new business with greater predictability, let's get real about this. You have to beat someone that has 10 to 15 years or more experience than you do. That in itself is an uphill battle. Your ability to win business from an incumbent agent that has been embedded in an account for years without quoting depends a lot on what sales schools you attend. And look, there are a lot of different philosophies about selling. We're going to look at 4 of them right here. So let's start with the most prevalent sales process taught in the insurance industry. It's dynamics of selling. It's an insurance-focused program. Dynamics of selling is a relationship-based method. And its core philosophy is that success comes from combining deep knowledge, which as a new or newer producer you probably don't have, with strong relationships, which you probably don't have either. The program is built around a 3-step process that begins with a diagnostic appointment, where the stated goal is to build rapport and deeply understand a prospect's needs through a risk management lens. By effectively qualifying opportunities and avoiding that price-driven conversation, producers learn to present tailored solutions that truly fit the client. The methodology places a strong emphasis on advanced communication, using specific questioning patterns to handle objections, to differentiate from competitors, and to solidify the producer's role as a trusted advisor. So that's dynamics of selling. Great course, but doesn't deal with the number one problem in selling insurance. We'll get to that. Number 2, spin selling. Here's another great process based upon the research of Neil Rackham. It was groundbreaking at the time because it shifted the focus from traditional closing techniques to what he called consultative selling, an approach where you seek to understand a customer's needs through strategic questioning. Rackham conducted a 12-year project analyzing over 35,000 sales calls, and from that, he codified a 4-step formula for consultative selling. The 4 steps are simple. Situation, understand what the current situation is. Problem, get the problem identified. Implication, what's the impact or implication of having that problem? And need payoff, what's the benefit of fixing it? It revolutionized sales by prioritizing strategic questioning to understand customer needs over traditional closing techniques. That was spin selling. Here's another one. It's by Daniel Pink. It's called To Sell is Human. And Pink is a social scientist, a cognitive researcher. At one point in his career, he was a speechwriter for Al Gore. He says, to succeed in this new landscape, he suggests the old ABCs of selling, always be closing, are outdated. And he's right. He proposes a new set of ABCs that are more aligned with the modern information-rich world. What are they? Attunement. This is about understanding the perspective of others and seeing the world from their point of view. It's about empathy and listening more than talking. Number 2, he calls buoyancy. And this refers to the ability to stay afloat even in an ocean of rejection. It involves a resilient and optimistic mindset before, during, and after any attempt to move others. And then number 3 was clarity. In a world with abundant information, the key is no longer just accessing information, but you're a curator of it. And you get that information to make sense to others. So he says it's about identifying problems people didn't know they had and bringing clarity to complex situations. Essentially, the book reframes sales from a transactional, often manipulative practice into a more human, service-oriented skill focused on helping and moving others. Good stuff. One of my favorites is Sandler selling. Their core philosophy is that the salesperson acts as a trusted advisor, not a vendor. They diagnose problems before ever prescribing a solution. This approach is designed to take the pressure off both the buyer and the seller, leading to a more open and honest conversation. And a key concept is the upfront contract. I mean, this is an agreement made at the beginning of every interaction that sets clear expectations. It outlines the purpose, timeline, and potential outcomes of the conversation. For example, a salesperson might say, hey, the goal of this call is for me to understand your challenges and for you to see if we might be a fit. And by the end, we should both be able to decide if it makes sense to talk further. If not, that's perfectly okay. How does that sound? So this prevents misunderstandings and keeps the salesperson in control of the process. Sandler trained salespeople don't just look for a need, they dig for the prospect's pain. And this refers to the deep-seated business or personal challenges that are causing the prospect significant trouble. The idea is that without a compelling reason, pain, to change, a prospect is unlikely to buy. Salespeople use a series of probing questions, they call it the pain funnel, to get to the emotional and financial impact of the problem. Good stuff. Next, we're going to look at quickly is challenger selling. The challenger selling model argues that the best salespeople win by teaching customers, not by building relationships. They challenge a customer's perspective by bringing unique commercial insights that reframe how the customer views their own business. Challengers teach new ideas. They tailor their message to the individual's specific concerns, and they take control of the sale to guide the customer to a decision. The challenger selling model posits that top performing salespeople succeed by educating customers rather than solely focusing on relationship building. They challenge a customer's existing viewpoint by offering distinct commercial insights that redefine how the customer perceives their own business. Challengers effectively teach new concepts. They tailor the communication to address the individual's specific concerns and take control of the sales process to guide the customer toward a decision. Now look, I know people that are successful using each of these strategies, and you can be successful too if you devoted the time to learn them. And I feel there's a lot to be learned from all these approaches. You'll pick up great questioning and communication skills. And one thing that makes all of these a bit difficult is their conceptual methods. What do I mean by that? Let's take golf, for example. If I told you that to be a good ball striker, you must be flexible, make a great turn, get your club coming inside out, and follow through with a strong, powerful finish. You'd say, hey, great advice, but how specifically do you do it? It's too conceptual to really act upon. And for my taste, so are many of the sales processes on the marketplace. They're too conceptual to act on. They say, ask better questions, of course. Be a better listener. Show more empathy. Have superior knowledge. Find pain, not just needs. Become a trusted advisor. It's great advice, but how do you really do it? Look, if you ever heard Elon Musk being interviewed, he always brings up first principles as his go-to method to solve complex problems. And to me, selling commercial insurance in the middle market arena is a complex problem. So what are first principles and how does that apply to selling? And how might that lead you to a different outcome than all of those sales processes that we just reviewed? First principles thinking is the practice of breaking down complex problems into the most elementary and simple truths. By starting with these fundamental facts, you can reason up from there to create innovative solutions rather than just improving on what already exists. Elon used first principles in thinking to create a relaunchable rocket. NASA couldn't figure it out, even with the backing of the United States of America and many of the smartest scientists in the world on their team. Elon Musk applied first principles thinking to solve the prohibitive cost of space travel. He started by questioning the established high price of rockets. So number one, deconstructing the cost. Instead of accepting the industry's price tag, Musk calculated the actual cost of a rocket's raw material. Aerospace-grade aluminum, titanium, carbon fiber. He discovered these materials made up only 2% of the final price. This revealed that the real problem wasn't the cost of the stuff, but the inefficient manufacturing processes and the supply chains. Number two, rebuilding the solution. Based upon this insight, SpaceX took two radical steps. Number one, in-house manufacturing. They brought over 85% of manufacturing in-house to bypass expensive suppliers and control the entire process, cutting costs dramatically and allowing for rapid innovation. And then also challenging the expendable paradigm. Musk asked the fundamental question: why are rockets thrown away after one use when every other form of complex transportation is reusable? So number three, engineering for reusability. This new perspective drove SpaceX to solve the technical challenges of reusability. They engineered key innovations like restartable engines for the landing burns, steerable grid fins for atmospheric control, and deployable landing legs to enable a rocket booster to fly itself back to Earth and land intact. By breaking down the problem to its essentials and rebuilding a solution from the ground up, Musk and SpaceX created a reusable rocket system that drastically reduced the cost of accessing space and revolutionized the aerospace industry. It was first principles that enabled him to build batteries for his electric cars at a price and volume that would enable him to grow his Tesla brand. So let's talk about first principles to selling insurance. The truths. Truth number one, there's an incumbent agent that has to lose for you to win. Truth number two, you represent the same insurance carriers as your competitors. Truth number three, most buyers see insurance as a commodity. They're more concerned with price than they are controlling cost. And truth number four, most agencies are in the reactive service business. They get out certs, they answer phone calls, they respond to emails, and they help clients report claims. Look, there are over 10,000 new sales books entering the market every year, and less than 5% will ever sell more than 1,000 copies, meaning the other 950 of them, almost no one will ever read. And the reason why? There's nothing new or novel. Most of them are a regurgitation of the existing ideas out there. Ask good questions, listen effectively, overcome objections, and build relationships. There's literally only one book about dealing with the incumbent agent, just one. And yet, many would agree that it's the number one problem. The fact that the incumbent agent has insider knowledge of the account and a relationship with the buyer. And with that, they often have the ability to get the last look, match the price, and keep the account. This is a fundamental truth. There's an incumbent agent. The incumbent agent can block markets. The incumbent agent can make it difficult to get loss runs. The incumbent agent, unless they are bad, has the ear of the buyer. Okay, we all know that. But the consultative approaches don't even acknowledge it. And because of that, they never created a solution to solve it. They're like NASA. You can't make rockets reusable, so why try? Furthering on that truth is this. If you can't get the incumbent agent fired, you can't get hired. Look, nobody needs two agents except maybe a Fortune 500 company, and this is way outside the realm of middle market. Here's another truth. Most insurance buyers don't know what they want. They know maybe that things could be better, but they don't know how. And how do we know this is true? Well, it's simple. If they did know, they would have asked for it or they put in an RFP. But for most middle market insurance accounts, they don't know. They're for the most part just looking for a good quote. And even when they get it, they often let the incumbent have last look. You could assume they're fairly content with the incumbent agent and what they represent as an insurance program. My research indicates, and I've asked this question to over 10,000 producers, when you ask a buyer, how's your service been, what do they say? It's fine. When you ask, any problems with claims or how they've been handled, what do they say? It's good. When you ask, any concerns with the coverage, what do they say? Yeah, we're good. And I've been told over and over, they say all these things are fine. So what about service? Any issues there? No, we're good. And so we labeled that problem as a condition. What is a condition? It's where somebody's been trained to accept things as they are. Chicago has traffic, Houston is humid, Phoenix is hot, and you can't build reusable rockets. And for most buyers of insurance, it's about just getting a better price, not really controlling the cost of the risk. So one of my clients posted on LinkedIn just a couple of days ago. He goes, 3 years ago, this manufacturer had an experience mod rate of 1.47. Through partnership, accountability, and putting 5 key processes in place, we've now helped them drive their experience mod down to an incredible 0.69, the lowest in their 20-year history. Now, that's not just a number. It's a major savings on their workers' comp premiums and a reflection of a safer, stronger workplace. Here's what their clients shared. They said, our experience mod went down again from 0.83 to 0.69. We've never been this low. A major savings on our workers' comp. Thank you to this company and the team for helping us get there. And then Brandon said, I couldn't be prouder of the progress this client has made by embracing risk management strategies and following through with consistent execution. This is what proactive insurance plus safety culture looks like in action. So if you are a great listener, loaded with empathy, and have superior knowledge to almost all your competitors, selling insurance is probably pretty easy for you. But by definition, we can't all have superior knowledge, because if we did, it wouldn't be superior anymore. So for many of us, selling is fairly hard, particularly selling middle market commercial insurance, where buyers don't really know what they want, and there's an incumbent agent that is controlling the account right now. So what do you do? Well, if you want to win more without getting stuck in the price game, here's what you have to do. Number one, acknowledge that there's an incumbent agent. It's just true. The incumbent agent has to lose for me to win. Yeah, that's true. I need to be better than the incumbent, and I need to know specifically how I am better than incumbent. Yeah, that's good. Not only do I need to build a relationship, I better have a strategy to bust the incumbent relationship. Yeah. So how do you do it? Well, here's exactly how my clients are winning these accounts. And this is critical. You got to find where the incumbent agent is leaving your prospect vulnerable. And trust me, there's always something. I mean, here's what happens with most agents who've been serving the same client for years. They get comfortable, right? Well, of course. They fall into this reactive pattern where they're just responding to problems instead of preventing them, handling claims when they pop up. Maybe they process renewals, they return phone calls, but they're not actively protecting the business. So before you ever set foot in that meeting, do your homework. Don't just research their industry and their company, research the incumbent agent. Look, in most cities, you and your peers run into the same competitors over and over and over. With a little collaboration, you'll know which agencies have invested in loss control and claims management, but that doesn't mean that all of their agents actively provide that for the clients. In fact, most don't. You'll also know which of your competitors are just price, coverage, and reactive service firms. And here's the key thing. If you want to know where your prospect has pain, this will give you every clue you'll ever need. Because here it is. This is the formula. It's what you do that the incumbent agent isn't doing, is where your prospect is underserved and has pain but doesn't know it. And why don't they know it? Because they've accepted the level of service they are getting from the incumbent as normal. Don't walk in there and ask, are you happy with your current agent? Of course they'll say yes. Look, if you do your homework, you'll have 5 to 8 proactive service wedges you can use to raise the expectations of your buyer and get them to discover the incumbent agent isn't doing their job. I had one client targeting a manufacturing company. The incumbent had been managing their insurance for over 12 years, seemed bulletproof. But my client, a young producer in his late 20s, used 4 wedges. A couple focused on safety, one focused on a marketing narrative, and one on business interruption. He had several more in his arsenal but didn't need them. The next meeting, he got his signed BOR for $42,000 in agency revenue. Now, here's what's interesting. I saw this on LinkedIn too. Okay, so I saw this, it popped up on my LinkedIn. We'll call this guy John. He goes, I was taught that to sell an insurance policy, it needed to be 15% less with better coverage. That was usually the ticket to win. I learned that was bad advice. He says, I worked on a children's home. When I visited him, he told me repeatedly he loved his agent. That agent had been supportive while his wife had a serious health issue. But this guy said, I plowed ahead anyway. He took pictures of 15 buildings. He ran quotes. And when he stopped responding, when the prospect stopped responding and wouldn't send him loss runs, he got an underwriter to send him a quote that was 10% less with better coverage. This dude thought it was in the bag. 3 days later, he was notified that the customer signed a broker record letter on that carrier. And of course, when this guy, John, talked to him, he was a little indignant. And the buyer said, it's not my job to decide who uses Merkle, the company. So he admits he was stupid. He called it unethical. He said, you live and you learn. But did he? He said, I didn't know the game I was playing. The buyer had already made up his mind who he was going to use. Of course. He said, I should have listened. People very rarely choose their broker on price and coverage. Bingo. They choose their broker on proactive services that are going to make their life better. So check this out. Core philosophy, proactive service firm. Look, every time I meet with an agency owner, I call on them to commit to having a proactive service platform in their agency. Because when they do, several good things happen. Producers have something concrete to sell, something that you, the agency, can control, so selling becomes easier. Number 2, you can easily create a written service plan for the top 20% of your accounts, and so that clients stick around even longer. Now, as a producer, Because you've got your best accounts on written service timelines, you'll feel much more confident asking clients to introduce you. Setting appointments with target prospects gets easier. And that all leads to rapid growth. Agencies that commit to this generally have 20 plus proactive services in the categories of loss control, claims management, work comp, transportation, and coverage and exposures. And in each category, there are generally 2 to 6 proactive services. This enables your ability to win with predictability. Why? Because you're better. And this is especially important if you are new or newer. This is the source of your superior knowledge. This is your differentiation. This is how you beat competitors that have 10, 20, or 30 years more of experience than you do. So look, here's the bottom line. While you're watching this, most of your competitors are out there getting comfortable with their existing clients. They're playing defense. They're responding to problems instead of preventing them. That means there are a lot of proactive service gaps that are easy to identify. And you now know how to spot where every incumbent agent is vulnerable. You know how to position yourself as the prevention specialist instead of just another quote jockey. But knowing and doing, well, they're 2 completely different things. Our friend above even said he'd read the wedge and had recommended it to others. He read it, but he didn't get it. So here's what happens next. You can bookmark this video, tell yourself you'll implement it later, and keep fighting the same price wars you've been losing for years. Or you can take this framework and use it on your next prospect meeting. Use the wedge to expose the incumbent agent's service gaps, help your prospect understand what prevention looks like, create pain and urgency around getting in control of the controllables, the risk management system. So the choice is yours. But remember, every day you wait is another day your prospects are sitting vulnerable while their quote unquote trusted advisor collects premiums without actually protecting their business. It's those premiums that could fund your kids' cars, university tuition, and weddings. It's those premiums that could fund your big old retirement fund. Look, if you're not making enough money right now to save $50,000 to $75,000 a year, it's time to change the game. Become a master at differentiation, write bigger accounts and win most of them by BOR. The framework works. My clients prove it every single day. If you're an agency owner and you want me or my team to personally show you how to implement this complete system in your agency, go to bignition.io and schedule a call. We'll review your current sales process and show you exactly how to upgrade your entire prospecting to close system.